Hello and welcome to today's episode of Veeam Tech Bytes. I am Rick Vanover, the Rickatron, and we have a cool topic to go into today. And I've got two guests to help me out. We're going to talk about highly virtualized environments and tape infrastructure. It is easier than you think, but I need some help to do that. I'm in Arizona this week, and I got two guests joining me from Buffalo. Azim, good day and welcome to Veeam Tech Bytes.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Rick. Hi, everyone. My name's Azim, and I'm a product specialist here with Addo Technology. And thank you for having us here, Rick. Over to Matt.
Indeed. Yeah, Matt.
Hi, I'm Matt Mercurio. I'm a senior customer engineer with Addo Technology, and I thank you for having us today.
Yeah, indeed. This is good stuff. So, like I said, they're both up in upstate New York, Buffalo. I guess I don't know if you call it upstate, call it Buffalo. Depends on where New York is home for you. I'm in central. Oh no, I'm in southwestern Arizona today. But our producer Jeffrey is in central Ohio, and our other producer Felicia is in Texas. We want to know where you're from. So we are live on 4 different streams. The ones that you can interact with, let us know. Felicia will pick it up, and we'll come back to that application here in a bit. But let's go over to the slides here real quick. We're going to go into what I want to call something that's easier than you think here. A virtualization aware tape connectivity solution. Addo, we've been talking about this for a while internally, and I thought, we got to get the story out to the market. And so I guess let's start with just a kind of an overview. I don't know, Azim or Matt, either one of you want to just give us an overview of Addo, very specialized, kind of highly engineering focused solution, but tell us about Addo Technology.
Yeah, absolutely. So Addo was founded in 1988, and we are based out of Gatesville, New York. Well, precisely, we're very close to the Niagara Falls, one of major landmarks in the state of New York. And we initially developed, one of our first products was a really high-speed caching device, which was a solid-state drive. And when we did devise that particular product, we realized that a lot of the storage connectivity interfaces at the time was being bottlenecked. And that's when we got into the business of getting into developing storage connectivity products, network connectivity products, so we can deliver data smoothly and fastly, so customers can run their applications and services without having any kind of interruptions in the process. And that's how we got into storage adapters and network connectivity adapters. And a lot of our products have these built-in functionalities that optimize bandwidth, are built around latency management, and that's at the heart of what we do. And that's what makes our products stand out in the market.
Well, that's really interesting because and this is what also kind of caught my eye in the 2000s. Before Veeam, I used to do a lot of work in the industrial, what we call industrial IoT now, and I used to do a lot of I call it bridging, but taking basically non-latency protocols like serial and things like that, and putting them on Ethernet. And friends, that doesn't always go well, right? So this has to be a highly engineered solution when you're talking about, lack of a better word, a bus that doesn't have the concept of latency. When you think about some of these serial channels, and especially when you look in this list here, right, these types of things generally in their raw state, they're not they don't have the concept of Ethernet, latency and things like that. So really cool stuff, really attracted my eye. Anything you want to add, Matt?
No, I think Azim covered that really well. Sorry.
Yeah, cool. No, that's good. I mean, really technical stuff. But, when we think about backup, when we think about, modern data center, a typical data center today, the customer choice is highly virtualized environments and, VMware, Hyper-V, all of those virtual platforms. But there's a real challenge to get something like a tape infrastructure into a highly virtualized environment, right? Tell me about what you all have seen in the market with this challenge.
Absolutely. So it's very true that you mentioned that a lot of the modern IT systems today do have some form of issues when supporting tape infrastructure. This is primarily because of a lack of foresight into how tape systems actually operate. Tape devices are sequential devices, and being able to have that streaming performance out of tape storage devices is very critical to ensure that your backups are being processed appropriately. And particularly in virtualized environments today, if you look at it, support for tape libraries is very limited. And it's concerning because some of these architectures require IT admins to build solutions that require them to have dedicated physical servers to run these tape libraries. And additionally, that could introduce a lot of points of failure within the architecture because you essentially do not have a purpose-built device that is designed for communicating to that tape library and doing those functions that are necessary for ensuring that your VM environment operates smoothly. And most importantly, as you scale, as your storage infrastructure needs grow, as you scale, you have to keep adding these servers to support those tape libraries too. So in order to, alleviate some of these problems, we identified that introducing network connectivity to SAS tape drives is one of the biggest, has some advantages to this particular the architecture that we're going to propose in this presentation.
Yeah, I think that, this problem, and I'll be the first to say, this use case here that we'll talk about in a second. I have like most IT pros with some experience have like a very interesting opinion on tape. I've got plenty of reasons how tape has let me down, but I also know that every single one of those I can like really find out how that was a problem. But still to this day, tape media is the only storage mechanism I know of that can be offline, air gapped, and immutable all at the same time, as well as it has a very low acquisition cost for the media, and it's extremely portable. And when you think about some of the ransomware challenges, there's still a use case. A lot of Veeam customers still use tape, but tell me about this energy organization and kind of how they looked at it.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to piggyback on your comment on the ransomware concerns, which is one of the key reasons why tape is being touted with a renewed interest in the market today. So one of the customers that approached us was this large power utility company. They were serving millions of customers. Really high. They were using a highly virtualized environment in their data center infrastructure. The problem was that they were backing up to just disk and cloud, and they did identify a risk of ransomware in the process. And they wanted to ensure that they bring tape into the mix. However, because that infrastructure was tightly integrated for specific virtualized applications, they didn't have room or enough options to integrate tape into that workflow. So in the consecutive slide, you can see what some of the challenges are, and we can definitely walk through some of those challenges in detail.
The mute button works. Sorry about that. So here's kind of a look at this environment, right? Where, if they have a virtualization footprint, the bulk of their IT stack is going to sit there. But then you kind of have these large clunky anchors of the backup infrastructure, the tape infrastructure, that kind of makes the overall footprint kind of large. It seems. I mean, this is a simplified example. But I mean, a couple of points here. People want to double down on that virtualization investment.
Absolutely. So if you take a look at this architecture here, this was some of the different options that they were looking at. So they wanted to bring in tape into the mix. As you can see, the virtualization environment was locked to a certain certain integration challenges. They had to have a dedicated backup server and a dedicated tape server to run those SAS tape libraries within that infrastructure. And this was introducing, this could potentially impact backup and recovery times because you could run into possible downtime issues and possible server failures, whether it be the server going down for maintenance or being pulled down for some kind of issue with the direct attach configurations there. And additionally, because they wanted to isolate that tape library from that core infrastructure, they could not do so because it was a SAS tape library. You're limited by cable lengths at that point. So they were looking for a more flexible and scalable solution that they can deploy without having to make any major infrastructure changes. So when they approached us, we instantly knew that we had a solution for this customer's challenge. And in the consecutive slide, we can talk about it in detail.
Well, yeah, good point. Before we get to that slide, producers have just let me know that the map is up. Let's take a look at that. We've got a couple of U.S. states tuning in. We've got California, we've got Indiana, we've got more New York and Florida, and then we have Brazil in South America. Nobody in EMEA today. Oh my goodness, what's going on? The internet must be broken. Nah, that's okay. Let us know in the chat where you're from. Felicia will light it up, and we will maybe get back to the map application. We will see, but thanks for tuning in. We always like to know where y'all are from. So cool. So to that point, Azim, let's take a look at the enhanced solution here. And I really like this because tell me about how this looks, and I'll kind of overlay kind of the Veeam fit of this, because this is kind of really that optimal solution.
Absolutely. As you can see in this diagram, we essentially have eliminated the need for that dedicated physical server to attach those tape drives to the ecosystem. What you can do with the Atos solution, the Extreme Core 8100T, is that you can now introduce those SAS tape libraries to the Ethernet infrastructure just with that one physical device, and you can have the VMs in your virtualized environment be converted to tape servers or backup servers to drive those backup applications or move that data across the network to the tape library. So what the advantage here is that you now get a network shared asset, just like how you would use in traditional networking tape library configurations like Fiber Channel. So we bring the best of both Fiber Channel based capabilities and direct attach configuration capabilities with the solution, except that now you can do it on your Ethernet infrastructure. No changes whatsoever. You can connect this to your existing Ethernet infrastructure and have the VMs do the backups, and you can enjoy the benefit of VMs, the live migration of your virtualized environment to here with this particular solution.
Well, I think you could even make cases for more than just live migration. I'm also talking to a lot of organizations that are doing refreshes from one version of their virtualization stack to the next. And nowadays, sometimes I'm talking to people that are changing virtualization stacks as well. And so my thought here is that we're in a world where the tape infrastructure is persistent across the virtualization infrastructure. So it's really attractive in that regard. And further, those of you who are using tape, if you're going into like a refresh, this is really important to know that this type of architecture is available today. So if you really want to keep tape, and regardless of your virtualization platform, you could actually refresh into this type of architecture. And don't let the picture fool you. This device here, we'll talk about it in a bit, it isn't as big as the tape library. It's quite tiny. So let's not get too, oh, well, that looks about the same. No, it doesn't. It's a lot better. But let's talk a little bit more about the 8100T Extreme Core. If I remember right, these things are kind of like half the size of a shoebox. Is that about right? Like a short shoebox. Is that the best way to explain it? I don't know if you've ever heard it measured in shoebox units, but that's how I think it looks.
Well, I would say smaller than a shoebox, but I'm going to let Matt take over from here to just briefly walk you through the product while I can actually show you what the product looks like.
Ah, you got one? Yeah, okay, good. Thanks, Matt. Well, tell me about the device itself.
Yeah, so its size is more kind of like a nice watch box, really, if it were laid out. It's very small. In fact, we offer a rack unit where you can put 4 of these side by side, and this is very useful for scalability, which we'll talk about later. But the 8100T is a 10 gigabit Ethernet to 12 gigabit SAS bridge. It supports up to 4 tape drives or tape libraries. You can mix and match from LTO version 5 up to the latest version 9. And of course, when LTO 10 is released, we will be supporting that as well. It's very easy to manage. It's almost plug and play. You attach your tape library or tape drive to the SAS port. It automatically discovers that drive, maps it to an iSCSI name, and all you really need to do is configure your IP scheme on the 8100T to work within your network infrastructure. If you want to go through some of the next slide, we'll go through the 3 S's that we talk about. These are key benefits of using the bridge. And the first of all is it's shareable. You could have multiple guest operating systems sharing that tape library, which is located in an off-site location or away from your primary storage and VMs, which is best practice for tape backup, because in case of major catastrophe, you want that archive to be still available. We talked about live migration. I think this is one of the coolest things that you could do, because you could never do this before. When you had physical servers, as Azim mentioned, if that physical server goes down, your backup windows are gone, and you have to rebuild that server up, and it's going to take time. But in a VM world, you could just migrate that VM right over, and you could be in the middle of a backup or a restore and do that migration, and that backup will continue and complete successfully. So that's very, very big point with that. And of course, you're lowering your total cost of ownership because you're using existing network infrastructure and resources. You don't have to buy expensive servers that eat up a lot of power and cooling in your data center. You don't have to buy SAS HBAs. Every virtualized environment has network resources available by default because it relies on it. So you're not adding any new stuff to your hypervisors. And of course, iSCSI initiators are built into the operating systems that you install on the VMs, whether it's Linux or Mac. iSCSI is there. The next benefit, I think, if we can go to the next slide here.
Oh, Matt, before we do that real quick, one comment on the Veeam implementation side. The tape server role can be Windows or Linux. So I really want to emphasize your bit here of lowering TCO, because that's a piece of equipment you don't need to provision, right? So historically, highly virtualized environments with Veeam would have proxies and all these other, the backup server, gateway server, all these WAN accelerations, all that would be virtual. But one thing would stay, and that would be the tape server role on a server with this. That equipment could now sit in the virtual stack. So that lower TCO resonates really well with the Veeam side as well. But tell us about the scalability.
Right, so it's very easy to scale these out. You just simply add another 8100T bridge. And in our use case that we talked about earlier, that was one of the attractive roles of this product. They were starting small, but intended to grow their tape footprint out down the road. So it's simple as adding another bridge. And the beautiful part is you can still manage all those bridges from one virtual machine. Everything can be run from one central and one tape server. And of course, you're increasing your performance because you're reducing the load by using iSCSI traffic. You can use VLANs to segregate that off and make sure that you're getting the best performance to your tape drive. And that's another beautiful thing of the 8100T. With our acceleration engines and features that we have built inside the bridge, you're getting almost the same performance through the bridge as if you were direct attached to a SAS tape drive.
That's fantastic. And yeah, especially about multiple tape libraries. That's one I think that, again, organizations would really have to think about their footprint and such. And then we got one more S. Let's go simplicity. Tell me about that.
The bridge is very simple to use. I touched on this earlier. It's almost plug and play. You simply really need to just assign IP addresses to the ports that fits into your network scheme. One of the big concerns many people talk about is you're putting it on the network. Doesn't that add risk? But no, because iSCSI comes with CHAP protocol, which is a challenge handshake authentication protocol, which is very secure way of making sure no unwanted users gain access to your tape backups. We also provide access control lists, which is a standard in networking technology for also making sure your network is secure. We have a lot of monitoring capabilities built into the bridge. So if there is a problem, we can dive down and get to the bottom of the problem very quickly and resolve it very quickly. And maintenance on this product is very simple. Updates take no longer than 5 minutes if you do a firmware update and you're up and running again. So your backup windows are not reduced.
Matt, that's fantastic. And about the networking, one thing I think in layers, and I'm not a networking expert, but I do talk to a lot of them. And one of the things they talk about for these types of infrastructures, a tape, a storage network, as isolated as possible. And then when we're talking about on a virtual stack, that's really easy to do with some private networks that are just this iSCSI network. And it only then goes out of the virtual infrastructure to that one port that is the 8100. That's a really kind of logical air gap network. Okay, I'm making up a word of sorts, but if you can think about what you can do on a virtual platform, it's a lot easier to kind of micro segment down to exactly what you need. Some of the most resilient Veeam infrastructures, and no internet access, that's a good idea. Things like that. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Jeffrey, let me know. We got one more map to take a look at. So we've added a few states here. We've added Canada. Good. Big swatch of green now on the map. We've also added North Dakota. True story. One of the few states I have not been. It is on the list. Also, we got some Europe in the house. Germany and Romania are tuned in. Another person from Brazil over on the other side. Back in APJ, we've added Saudi, and the KSA is in the house, and India. So staying up late for this. This is good stuff. Hope everyone is enjoying. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you all for letting us know where you're tuning in from. All right. So, this is good stuff. And, the addo.com, real easy website, by the way, short and sweet. You guys can check that out. They've got a cool solution. Check this out. If you want to scan the QR code, check it out. We got a phone number. We got Azim's email. Speaking of Azim, did you get a unit? Can you show it to us?
I was sort of flashing it on the screen earlier, but I can actually talk to it.
Let's see it. Show and tell.
Can you guys see it? Can you guys see it?
Okay.
Okay, so this is the Extreme Core 8100T, and as you can see, it's smaller than a shoebox. And the best thing about this product is that you can use it as a standalone device and also rack mounted. So we offer a custom flex rack, a rack mount, which is called Flex Rack, and you can house up to 8 of these units in a single 1U rack. And it comes in two.
Correction, Azim.
Four.
Yeah.
Yes, 4. I got too excited there. 4 units. Yes, 4 units in the rack, and it comes in 2 different configurations. You can use either your optical interface, which is what this model shows on here, and you could also use the copper RJ45 interfaces. So for customers who prefer using 10 gig optical interfaces, we have a model for that, and for customers who rely on copper interfaces, we have a model for that too. Simple, scalable, shareable. That's the motto here.
I love it. And so I'm going to go from shoebox, I'm going to go to bento box. It's like a lunch box, a bento box.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Now you're making me hungry.
Hey now. Well, actually, you mentioned the 1U is 4. So that tells me that the unit height is right around 1.75 inches or
Correct.
less.
Yeah.
Could you front and back do 4 in the front and 4 in the back? Could you reverse mount on a rack? Because it doesn't look very deep.
The rack that we have is not that deep. Plus, it uses one of those external power supplies.
Okay, that's in the back. Okay, got it. but that's okay. But hey, we're making good progress, you know. But why I bring that up is like density matters. Sometimes I talk to a lot of service providers who, you know, their cost per rack unit is really a big deal. So they really want to get in. Oh, we got a comment. Let's check this out. Whoa, I have to. Sorry, I'm one screen today on the road. I got my phone for the ops chat here going on, and I can't get. There we go. So it looks like we got a comment, and I apologize, I can't see it. There we go, but I don't know where it went. Looks like we had a comment. So it functions like a SaaS gateway for the storage infrastructure for the tape. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Or I use the word bridge. I don't know if that's the right word.
Bridge is the correct term. A lot of people mistake them for switches, which gateway. So yeah, it's a good way to look at it. But what we're really doing is we're bridging one protocol to another, right?
Absolutely.
So we're converting SAS devices to iSCSI Ethernet.
Thank you, Stefan, for that comment. We always love hearing the interactions live from the crowd. All right. Well, hey, Azim, thank you so much for joining us here on Veeam Tech Bytes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us, Rick. It was an honor.
Awesome. And Matt, thank you so much, especially being there with the details of correcting 4 versus 8. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having us. This is a great forum to get our product out there, and we appreciate the time.
Outstanding. And we got a big show coming up next week on Veeam Tech Bytes on the Tuesday, the 29th. We have part 3 of the Cyber Incident Response series. Leah Troshaneski will be hosting Brad Lynch and Aaron Murphy to talk about third-party techniques and tools when it comes to incident response. That series really, really solid. You want to check that out noon on Eastern Time on the Industry Insights show. Next week, Thursday, the 31st, Peekaboo, Spookaboo, Halloween. We're not going to do a Tech Bytes show. I have my hands full with the Veeam 100 Summit in Berlin. So we're going to be skipping the show. I think I have one. We have the Veeam 100 show, I think, scheduled for the 7th or 8th, whatever that Thursday is in early November. But we are rocking and rolling here. It would be the 7th at Veeam. So on behalf of our producers, Jeffrey and Felicia, they bring this show to us. Really grateful for their outstanding production quality. I want to thank everyone for attending. That concludes our stream. Have a good rest of your day.